Welcome to another edition of Flea Market Fantasy, the world's second greatest Bronze Age era comic book podcast. Joining me as always is new Michael, Kevin Jank.
Good day, eh? Coming to you from the great white north.
You hoser. Yeah, and today we're reading basically Canada's Avengers, Alpha Flight, issue 50. I think, what is this, 1987, I believe? Let's go with that.
Sounds right.
Yes,
yeah.
That is right. Now, we did an Alpha Flight issue years ago with when it was just me and Miguel, so I'm always reluctant to pick another book, the same book again. But, you know, we got a whole new audience now, Jack. You know?
That's right.
So,
yeah.
Now, that first Alpha Flight issue, I think we did somewhere around issue 7 or so, like early on in the run. And this is much later, so a whole different team.
Lots of things have changed, apparently.
Yes.
Sasquatch, for one.
Oh, yes, because we had a bunch of questions. Like after I picked Alpha Flight last week after the show, I remember we were very confused about who was Guardian and who was Vindicator.
Yeah. And, apparently they're confused too, because yes. I think they've both been both of them at different times.
Because I was like, I'm pretty sure the fellow was Vindicator and the lady was Guardian, and you thought it was the other way around, and we were both right, because they were both Vindicator. So odd. So we'll get into that later. And then we were also confused about Sasquatch, and that's something. Holy hell.
Ooh, that's quite the tale, yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I only set aside maybe about an hour to do research for an Alpha Flight, and that is not enough.
No. Who knew Alpha Flight was so dense? Like,
yes, every character's died and come back.
Yeah. There's multiple times
transferred into other bodies. Good Lord.
Had their origins revised more than DC characters.
It's insane. So we'll do the best we can when we talk about the Alpha Flight.
Yeah.
But before we get into all that, let's remind everybody that if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We're up to 329 subscribers, so we picked up 3. And that is shocking because no one is watching the death of Captain Marvel.
Oh, no. This is a great comic book. What are you people sleeping on this for?
This is like 3 weeks in a row where the numbers are way down. So I think this once again proves my theory. No one listens to this show.
Yep. I think that's becoming clear.
We need to go back to Conan. Conan did numbers, you know?
Just Conan every week. What's the lead up to now?
You know who else did big numbers for us? Alf.
That's
Conan
right.
and Alf.
Oh, boy. Can't always hit that pay dirt, apparently.
I'm shocked that the death of Captain Marvel is not doing better.
Yeah, that's a well-known book, but no.
Oh, well.
No one cares.
So we'll see how good Alpha Flight does. I'm sure our Canadian fans will come in for Alpha Flight.
Oh, yeah. This is their royal family right there.
And also, remember, I got a book out there called Monkey Flip about a chimp detective. So, okay, Alpha Flight. Now, they're kind of tied at the hip with the X-Men in a way, because we should say Alpha Flight was created by John Byrne, who himself is Canadian. So that's
all makes sense now.
Yeah. He wanted to have a Canadian superhero team. And Alpha Flight's first appearance was in Uncanny X-Men 120, 1979. And then the solo series ran for 130 issues from 1983 to 1994. And Byrne wrote and drew the first 28 issues before leaving the title. Now, the original team, can you name all the members of the original team?
Ooh, this is going to be tough. Apparently, my research, one of the people I thought was an original member was not.
Yeah. I think I know.
So I'm going to go with James Hudson, Vindicator and or Guardian, whichever.
Yes, and
or. Yeah. Shaman,
correct.
Yep. Snowbird.
Correct.
All right, so far so good. Sasquatch.
Correct.
Aurora and Northstar. Were they both
that is
there?
correct, and I'm just going to tell you to stop because you did it.
Right.
Those are all the original. You would have probably kept going, but those are all the original members.
No, I knew that Heather hadn't started yet, and then Puck, I was surprised, was not an original member.
I kind of
Yeah.
thought he was. But yeah, when you think back to the X-Men though, he wasn't in those original issue 120. Yeah. So yeah, Puck came along when the series started. That was his
Mm.
appearance in issue 1 of the series.
Like, this isn't Canadian enough. Can we have someone named Puck? Because they like hockey.
So all right, let's clear up the whole Guardian Vindicator stuff. So John Byrne, he created the character of the James Hudson Guardian character, back before he was in the comic industry. Like when he was just a fan growing up, he came up with this idea for this character, and back then his name was the Canadian Shield.
Wow. Really
name.
making the Captain America ripoffs even stronger.
But he has a very Canadian costume. It's just like the Canadian flag, basically, into a costume.
Yeah.
So he was the
It's
Canadian.
like Captain Britain or Captain America, but Canadian. And he didn't just go with the Captain Canada.
There is a Captain Canuck, right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. You might be hearing of him in the next Monkey Flip book. But the Canadian Shield. So when it came time, they needed characters there for the Uncanny X-Men storyline. He said, "Oh, I got some guy. I got this guy, Canadian Shield." But they said, "All right, well, you can't call him the Canadian Shield because we have Shield.
Oh yeah,
so you can't do that."
Confusing.
So then he said, "Hey, how about Guardian?" And the editors, Eric Marvel, they said, "Well, yeah, we got other characters with similar names, so yeah, you can't have a Guardian either." And then Chris Claremont suggested Vindicator.
There you go. That's a good name. That strikes, I don't know.
I like it.
Reminds you of Dashboard Confessional, or it's or it sounds cool.
I've never been reminded of them in my life. So, but Vindicator, it was his name in his his initial X-Men appearances, and then John Byrne became so popular because of X-Men Run, and then he moved on to do Fantastic Four right after that, and he was wildly popular. And of course he had a dispute with Chris Claremont, and that's why he left the title of the X-Men. So he was so popular, Marvel says, "Hey, let's do something more with you." So he's like, "All right, I want to have my Canadian superhero team. I want Alpha Flight." Boom, they're in series. And he said, "Great." He said, "But you know what? I'm getting rid of Vindicator because that's what Chris Claremont wanted to call the character."
so much spite.
So he switched him to Guardian, and at this point, John Byrne had enough sway that he could get Guardian. So that's why James Hudson started out as Vindicator, then he went to Guardian, then he seemingly died. Okay,
mm-hmm. That was a big one.
I guess his power, his power is he has a suit that is powerful, and so
projects energy or something like that.
Yeah, it just gives him he can fly and stuff too, and strong, whatever. And but it just looks like a normal costume. It's not like an Iron Man situation, It's like a normal costume. So anyway, I guess one day this suit, it got overpowered and it looked like it exploded. So everybody thought he died, but actually he got transported to a moon of Jupiter or something. I think, if I'm remembering this properly.
Okay.
I don't know. I think so.
Yeah, I guess anytime you don't see a body, he's probably not dead.
So everyone thought he was dead. So Heather Hudson, his wife, took over leadership of Alpha Flight, and she got her own little suit there. And except now she had goggles.
That was her big contribution. Yeah.
Same suit, looking like Canadian flag, but goggles, so she could go skiing.
He wouldn't have blown up if he'd had those goggles. That would have made all the difference.
And in tribute to her husband, she took the name Vindicator, which was his original name. All right. But then at some point, she decided, you know what? No, I'm just going to be Guardian again. I'll be Guardian too, So
yeah, I'll honor that part of my husband, his confusing flip-flopping.
And then when her husband came back from Jupiter or wherever the hell he was, he couldn't be Guardian because Heather was now Guardian, so he went back to Vindicator. It's all so confusing. So both characters, the husband and wife, are both Guardians and they're both Vindicators. So.
Yep. So yeah, depending on what time period you're reading, who knows what to call them.
Yeah, because I was sure the man was Vindicator and the wife was guardian.
Yeah.
But yeah,
You're half right.
yeah, so everyone is called Vindicator. So, all right, so that explains that.
Yep, that's one mystery down.
Yeah,
Let's the rest of this tangled mess.
all right, let's talk about one of the characters in this book, is Sasquatch.
Yeah.
All right, so this guy,
well,
well, what was his real name? Was it
Walter
Langkowski?
Langowski.
Yeah.
Yeah, Langowski.
And he was doing experiments on gamma radiation. He was basically trying to redo Bruce Banner's experiment on the Hulk because it went so well the first time.
Yes. Smart. I believe him and Bruce Banner were like college roommates or something, maybe. Like they had known each other at some point.
Pen pals, Canadian pen pal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he did know Banner, yes. So during this experiment, though, something goes screwy. He gets turned into a giant, orange, hairy Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't the gamma radiation that made him the Sasquatch.
Nope.
The experiment opened up a door, a dimensional portal, to a realm called the Great Beasts or something. So there's just some monsters that live there. And so whenever like a monster, I forget the name of the monster, it begins with a T. And there it is. There it is. He came through that portal and he merges with Langkowski. So Langkowski's consciousness goes inside the body of that monster. So it's not that he doesn't technically transform. I don't know. It's a switcheroo.
Yeah, it's kind of like Rick Jones, Captain Marvel type thing, where they switch out.
Yeah. So that's weird. But when he's in the monster form, I think the first time it happened, he was crazy. But then, like, his own consciousness and his own intellect, he's still Walter inside the body of that Sasquatch. Okay.
Yeah.
And I think he could, he was to the point where he could change back and forth, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Like, I think at some point. Anyway, so, what happened then? They were on some mission somewhere. And I think Walter Langkowski or whatever, when he was in his doctor form, I'm pretty sure got shot in the chest.
Ooh.
And, yeah, that's not good. So, trying to think the exact sequence of events now because I just read this before the show. But so they thought he was dead.
His body died, but they transferred his mind, I guess, into some robot named Smart Alec.
No, not yet. Not yet.
Oh, okay.
His soul was preserved because of the ancient, monster body he was in or whatever. I don't know. So in that monster land, they were an evil guy in that monster dimension was like holding his soul captive. So Alpha Flight had to go in and get that soul. And they eventually do preserve his soul. And Shaman, he's a mystical, magical fellow. And he just had a magical purse. Remember that?
Yeah, that's right. He's like
Dorothy before. Magical purse. Backpack. But basically, he just would reach into that purse and pull out whatever he needed. And if you looked into that purse, you went crazy.
Oh.
Yes, you couldn't look into his purse.
A lot of tampons. It would drive you mad.
So, Shaman, he went in, they found Walter's soul, and like he put it in some little, I don't know, mason jar or something, I don't know, and he stuck it in his purse. And when it was inside the purse, because the purse is like this big chaotic dimension or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
the TARDIS, Doctor Who. It's bigger on the inside.
Yes, very much. And Langkowski jumped from that mason jar, or whatever the hell he was in, to the shrunken dead body of Smart Alec, who apparently was one of the original Alpha Flight members. Yeah, we got to really get into the Alpha Flight history still.
Yeah. Holy hell.
And that he had gone insane because he looked inside Shaman's purse. And that guy died. So anyway, yeah, you were correct. He did get into Smart Alec's body. I think that's the way it happened. And then all right, so then there's another guy named Robert Box. Bochs.
Yeah.
And he didn't have legs, right? He amputated legs from the knee down, I believe. And,
Sounds right.
And so he invented like this robot called Box, and he would be able to control Box. And so at some point, Lankowski, they transferred his soul into the body of Box, right?
Yep, that sounds right.
So
He's just jumping wherever he can find a vacancy, apparently.
okay, but now there's shoot. Snowbird
Now it
comes
gets
to play.
really weird. Yeah.
All right. So Snowbird, her gimmick is that she's like a demigoddess of like Canadian nature.
Yeah. Like she is kind of one of those great beasts or connected to them somehow. She's some kind of a god-like being.
Yeah, and she could usually change forms into like a bird or an owl. What was she, like an owl?
Yeah, I think pretty much any animal I think she could turn into.
Yeah. And but she's very connected to the Canadian wilderness and the Canadian land. Like she couldn't leave
like
Canada.
early on. Yeah, she couldn't. Yeah, exactly. She didn't have a passport. They wouldn't let her out.
Like anytime she was away from Canada, she got sick, and she would eventually die if she didn't get back to Canada. So
probably shouldn't have brought her to take on Wolverine then. You leave her up in Canada.
I know. So, but at some point now, I think that big beast guy again. What's his name?
Tanarak?
Or maybe there's another one. Was it Tundra?
Yeah, there's. Oh, okay. Yeah, there's definitely Tundra as well.
Yep. Well, you know all your great beasts. I'm impressed. So I think he came through the portal or something. They're out to fight him, and doesn't she turn into a giant white Sasquatch to fight him?
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
But then some other shenanigans happen, and like Snowbird dies, though, right? Doesn't she die at some point?
Well, yeah, that's I guess some whole other story where like she had a husband and then they had a baby, and then like some kind of demon-y thing or some kind of old villain, like demon calling itself Pestilence or something.
Yes,
not the one from Apocalypse's Horseman, but some other villain called Pestilence. He showed up and like took over her body, I think, and made her, murder her own child and husband.
Oh,
and
no.
then made him. She was gonna kill Alpha Flight after that, but then like Heather Hudson had to stop her, and she's like, "Well, the only way I can stop her is by killing her." So Heather Hudson kills her, and then her body's up for grabs. So Walter Langowski's like, "All right, got me a new host."
Yeah, so his soul jumps into her body, but now he's a lady. He's a lady.
Yeah. And he was dating Aurora, and apparently that soured their relationship in being a lady, He was not into
a giant furry beast.
Well, I looked back through old issues. He can still turn back into a woman.
Oh, so he can get out of that female Sasquatch form and into a lady?
Yep. He can, yeah.
So what does he look like when he's a lady? Like Snowbird, or?
I think so, yeah. I never really saw much of Snowbird without her whole costume on, so it's hard to tell exactly, but yeah, I guess, yeah, so he could turn back into a lady, but I guess Aurora just was not into that, unlike her brother.
Okay. I could see that. I was thinking he was stuck in the female Sasquatch form. All right, so, yeah, but he started going by Wanda Lankowski.
Oh, look at that.
And so that's why, because because what was the other Sasquatch? Because I just know there's a white Sasquatch from Marvel Snap.
Yeah, there was a white Sasquatch from the Exiles, who was on the Exiles for a while, who was like from an alternate reality where Heather Hudson became the white Sasquatch, but she was a black woman in that reality.
So their history is even more convoluted in other realities.
Yeah.
But,
just love adding weird layers to Alpha Flight.
So, Sasquatch, though, now he's a lady named Wanda, but
somehow, his form starts becoming back to more resemble Walter again. Like he starts
because the spirit of Snowbird from beyond the grave somehow does that for him. So now he's back as being a fella.
Yeah.
In the orange, like he started right back where he was. When he started.
Yep. But Snowbird then comes back to life as well.
Everyone comes back to life.
Yeah, like Walter is technically in her body, but no, she also has a new body.
It's like Shaman dies at some point, he comes back.
Yeah.
I think Talisman, his daughter, dies at some point. She probably comes back. They all come back.
They all come back. Everyone thinks they don't need Alpha Flight anymore. We're going to kill them off. And then like, you know what? Maybe you can't do that. Superheroes. Let's bring them back.
So, now their ties to the X-Men is because when Wolverine was crazy running around the Canadian wilderness, like a little animal guy, didn't the Hudsons find him and take him in, right?
Yep, that's right. Nurse him back to health.
So then when they started, they worked for Department H, which is kind of like their CIA or underground CIA for the Canadian government. And they came up with the idea for their own superheroes and Alpha Flight. So James Hudson was involved in there. So they brought Wolverine into that and made the whole Weapon X thing, right?
Yep. Yeah. Well, actually, no, I think he had already escaped from Weapon X at that point, but I think there definitely were illusions that, you know, maybe the upper people up at Department H were kind of tied in with Weapon X.
Okay.
So they nursed him back to health after he escaped from Weapon X and got the adamantium. So.
That was okay. See, this is where I'm confused. Yeah, I had the timeline screwed up. So yeah, he had already escaped from Weapon X when they found him.
Yeah, that's when he was wandering around the woods naked and animalistic, basically.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I had things mixed up in my head, which is pretty common for me.
Yeah. I think there definitely are ties between, at least certain segments of, it's very X-Files-y where it's like, the cigarette smoking man's probably doing some shady shit. Like, he's probably got his own Weapon X going.
So, all right, now I'm confused because if he was already in Weapon X, they nurse him back to health. So then later on, when James Hudson becomes part of Alpha Flight, their first assignment is to go bring him back to Weapon X?
Bring him back to Department H, which I guess I don't think they know has any connection to Weapon X. They're kind of keeping that on the DL.
They're just saying like, the Canadian government paid for those adamantium bones and claws.
Well, no, he does. When they nurse him back to health, he does join Alpha Flight, I believe, briefly. Like when he gets sent to, when he first appears fighting the Hulk and the Wendigo, he has been sent by the Canadian government. So he is working as an agent of the Canadian government. And then like Professor X comes along and he tells Canada to stuff it. Yeah. And so they're going to get him, hey, you still work for the Canadian government.
Okay. All right.
You better come back.
Yeah. I guess it also makes sense. So, because James Hudson, he was working for a company, right, that developed that suit, and
yeah, that's right.
So how did he get involved with he wasn't with Department H originally, and then?
He definitely was. I don't know from what point he got, connected, but I'm sure it's one of those things where it's like he's working on a suit, he needs funding, better go to the government. They're just
the most important thing is, as confusing as this, it's still the most easily understood aspect of Alpha Flight. So.
No one's swapping bodies.
That's how Alpha Flight got mixed up with the X-Men. They were coming to retrieve Wolverine and bring him back to Department H in the Canadian government. All right, so Aurora and Northstar are twin brother and sister, right?
That's right.
Okay. And Northstar, wasn't he like a skier or something? Wasn't he a famous skier?
Yeah, I believe he was like an Olympic athlete, like Olympic skier.
Yeah. And he was, what are their ability? They can fly and,
they can fly, they're really fast, and then when they join hands, they could generate like a really intense bright light.
Oh, like a North Star, kind of.
Yeah.
Like an Aurora, yeah.
With the Aurora Borealis, yeah.
And Aurora is also a little squirrely upstairs, right?
Yeah, she's got the multiple personalities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's tough. Yeah.
They apparently got separated. There was like a car accident, killed their parents, and then they got separated. So they didn't grow up together, but then they both somehow got recruited by Alpha Flight, and then they're like, oh, hey, I know you. You're my sister.
That's right. What was that documentary about those three guys who were brothers and they met in college?
Yeah, that's right.
Same thing happened. So in this issue, we get another explanation of their backstory. and but it's all bogus, not true.
Yeah, it turns out to not be true. I was like, aren't they mutants? I thought they were mutants. Like, they're not trying to be like, oh, this counts as being a mutant, like they do with Namor, where it's like, oh, he's a mutant, but he's not. Just because he's half human, half, Atlantean, that doesn't make you a mutant. He doesn't have the X gene.
So this issue here, Vindicator, the first James Hudson, he's dead at this point. So Heather Hudson's the leader. We have a fellow named Puck who's here. Now, Puck was a normal-sized adventurer and treasure hunter, right? Who was going through like some ancient temple, and he got cursed by a guy who we see in this issue.
Yeah.
And he got shrunk down to the size of a little fella, and he was always in constant pain. The trade-off is that he's immortal, though, right? Like he.
Yep. Yeah, that seems to be the case. Apparently, yeah, this demon, they mention it in this issue, like when he cuts you with his scimitar, he makes you shorter.
Yeah, he's like a kind of like an Arabian Nights looking guy, from back in scimitar and a turban and everything. And I think his name's Dark Razor or something, almost like the guy from WWE.
Yeah.
The authors of Pain. But
yeah, he traps demon inside of him, but
yes.
Part of that is, the trade-off is, hey, you saved the world from this demon, but now you got to be a short guy with constant pain.
Yes, that was the key point, that he trapped the demon inside his body.
Yeah.
And also as Puck, he could jump around like a little monkey.
Yeah, he's like a little acrobat.
Yes. So, all right. And in this issue, he's still a little fella at the start of the issue.
Yeah.
And now Aurora's here, Northstar's here, White Sasquatch is here, and then Box is here.
Yeah, but not the Box we talked about earlier.
It's a different Box. I tried to understand this guy's history, and I still don't. Do you have his name's Madison Jeffries, I believe?
Yeah, Madison Jeffries. I'm more familiar with this guy, but I don't really know much about his history, because recently, in like recent years, they had made him kind of a part of the X-Men. Like he became one of their science guys. So yeah, I don't know. I'm more familiar with him from that era, but I don't know. I guess he was he seemed to be friends with Roger Box.
Yes, he worked with Roger Box, and he helped them, build Box and all the other kind of stuff. And he was like the machinist for Alpha Flight. Like he helped make equipment for him and stuff. But he had a brother named Lionel, and his brother was crazy.
Oh, him and Aurora were a long swell.
And so Lionel he became a guy named Scramble or something, and they had to fight him. And then he became a villain named Omega or something. I don't know. But it's at some point because Roger Box. All right, this gets crazy. So this Lionel guy, I think he had some clinic where they could heal people, but after you healed the person, eventually they became crazy. So
that seems like a problem.
Yeah, Roger Box went to them to help him with his legs. They healed him, restored his legs somehow. Yeah, but then he went crazy, and then he ended up dying, because everyone dies in Alpha Flight eventually. And also in the world, when you think about it, everyone in the world also dies eventually. Particularly seems to happen in Alpha Flight. All right, so Roger Box isn't around anymore, and then so Madison, after Walter Lankowski leaves the Box robot, because the original Box robot was like blue and silver, and this Box robot in this book's red and silver, and it's more advanced and everything, and it can like change into like make different shapes and weapons or whatever it needs to do. It seems to be able to do. So at some point, that Madison fella. By the way, he started having an affair with Heather Hudson after her husband died.
Yeah, I don't know if that's an affair.
Well,
her husband's dead.
It kind of was, because they got engaged, but he was seeing another lady named Lillian on the side.
Oh, okay.
So depending on how you look at it, because he knew Lillian first, I think. So.
That's not ideal.
It was an affair.
Yep. That is true.
So this Madison fella, he's somehow he's inside the robot, right?
Yeah, I think it's turned into an Iron Man type situation where he's in there.
But that rib, it seems to change shapes and everything, and so does his body get smushed?
Yeah, it's kind of like being inside a Transformer. You don't want to do that. You'll get all of your bones broken.
I think I did read something like somehow the body becomes merged with the machine. Somehow I don't know. But
maybe that's his mutant power, I guess.
Yeah. All right, so I think those are all the Alpha Flight characters we're encountering in this book.
Yeah, other than some brief cameo back at home base. But really
those are Beta Flight kids. And
yeah.
Beta Flight is basically their new mutants. You know?
Yep. Well, actually, I don't know. There's like Gamma Flight too, which I think is really like the worst of the worst.
The new mutants.
Yeah.
It's like Major League, Triple A, Double A, Single A.
They're like
they got a whole farm system. Yeah. All right, so this series here, or this, not the series, this book takes place about 2 years after the events of X-Men Alpha Flight, a 2-issue limited series.
And we're still doing setup. This is crazy.
Yes, because that's very important to know this backstory. I love that. I haven't read that since I was a kid, but I loved it at the time because it was Paul Smith on the art, right? And
yep, I do believe you're right. Yeah, I remember reading a trade paperback of this when I was a kid. And I think I still have the issues actually, but I have not read them since I was a kid.
I loved it. Yeah, I should probably go back and read it, or maybe not. Just let the memories stay the way they were. But
right.
Basically, Loki was causing some shenanigans, and he trapped Scott Summers and Madeline Pryor. This is back when they were, I guess, married, right? At this point, and they were flying a group of human scientists somewhere, and something crazy happened to their plane. So their plane went down, and the X-Men went to go investigate, and it was in. I don't know. Was it in Canada? Or I guess he knows because Alpha Flight was there.
Or I guess they seem to be going back to the scene of that. So yeah, I guess it must have been.
Yeah, Rachel Summers. Because man, talking about more convoluted stuff. In another reality, she's the daughter of Cyclops. So she got really mad when she heard because she saw some like magical thing come up and knock their plane down, and she's like, "Oh, well, I want to go. I think it's that shaman dude from Alpha Flight causing this." And she went to go beat up him, and then the X-Men intervened, and Alpha Flight got involved, and it wasn't shaman; it was apparently Loki. Loki's causing all this trouble, and Loki, there's this magic fountain of power, and whenever the humans came in contact with it, they got superpowers.
Yeah, it made them like godlike beings.
Yeah. And like Madeline Pryor could heal anybody, and all the other humans, scientists got really strong powers. So they had the potential to like, reshape the world. They could cure all the world's ills, But then Wolverine found out that every time these people are getting their powers, other magical beings are dying. Like Snowbird was shriveling up.
Ooh.
And also, I guess those humans who get the powers, they also can no longer create, imagine, or, come up.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
They have no creativity left.
So it was like a trade-off there. That Loki, he's a trickster. So they have to decide what they're going to do, and they decide to give up the powers and everything, whatever. So now when that story ended, there was like the magical fountain shut down or whatever, and the only evidence of it existing was one rose growing out of the Arctic snow. Mm-hmm. And that's where this book picks up, because Aurora is look crazy, and Northstar is very ill at this point for some reason.
Yeah, which apparently the writer who had started that storyline intended for it to be HIV, but apparently this new writer, once a new guy came along, he's like, nope, they're fairies.
They're fairies. So yeah, Northstar. It was hinted that he was probably gay earlier, but he didn't. It wasn't officially announced that he was gay until years after this, right?
Yeah, it was probably like 91, 92, somewhere around there.
So they go back to the site of this Loki Alpha Flight X-Men situation because they want to try and use that magical fountain to heal Aurora and Northstar.
Yeah.
They're hoping there's some trace of it left.
Yeah, something is wrong with Northstar's body and something is wrong with Aurora's mind, like even more than usual.
Yeah. All right, so one more character we got to talk about before we get into this. Of course, Loki. Loki's here,
Oh, sure.
and we've never actually discussed Loki in too much detail
That's crazy.
on this.
And now we're
I know.
discussing an Alpha Flight issue of all things. Not even Thor.
Year 5 of the show, or 6, and we only get to Loki. So Loki Loffason, is that how you say it?
Laffy's son, I think.
Laufey's son. Oh yeah, they always just say son at the end.
Yeah, that's right.
Laufey's son. That's his
That was
full name.
Laffy.
And he was created by Stan Lee, Larry Lieber, who of course was Stan Lee's brother, and Jack Kirby. And the first comic book appearance of Loki was actually in Timely Comics, Venus issue 6, 1949.
Ooh,
but the first superhero version of him, as far as being Thor's stepbrother and the nemesis of Thor, was in Journey into Mystery, issue 85, 1962. And would you like to give the backstory of Loki? Because
that seems like a trick question, so I'm going to say no. I know parts of it. Wasn't he he was the son of a frost giant?
Yes.
And it was one of those things where Odin had gotten into battle with them, and I don't know if it was to teach them a lesson or whatever. He took Loki. He took one of their the king's son, king of the frost giant's son, and I'm going to take this kid and he's going to live with me.
I think it was just being doing a good deed, right? Wasn't he? He just saw.
Maybe.
I think so. But anyway, Odin. It goes a little bit back farther than that, because Odin's dad was a fellow named Bor, I think, Bor.
Yep, that's right.
And at some point, Bor got changed with battling the frost giants, and he got turned into snow. And he was telling Odin, "Hey, you got to get someone to fix me here, so get some.
I don't want to be snow anymore.
I don't want to be snow anymore." And Odin said,
"All these kids are peeing on me."
He said, "Go spit, old man. You're going to stay snow." And his dad got, I guess, they didn't have the best relationship apparently. And his dad got really mad. He cursed him, and he said, "Hey, you know what? Someday you're going to raise the son of another king, and it's going to cause you a lot of grief," or something like that.
Oh.
So then his dad just blew away, like the wind blew him away. Snow, And so years later, or whatever, he's fighting these frost giants, and that Leif's son, or Leif, or whatever the hell his name is, Laufey, yeah. and he discovers his baby, and it looks like a human baby, and it's not, a frost giant baby. But it was a frost giant baby. That's the thing. It's crazy. So
yeah, I guess Thanos, he's just born a freak of their race.
Yes, because I was wondering, why doesn't he look like a frost giant? And I guess he was just a runt, and that's why the Leify or whatever didn't want him. He tossed him aside. He said, "I don't want this runt kid," And so Odin took him in, I think, out of the goodness of his heart. But that Odin seems kind of shady too.
He's always doing some bad shit.
So Loki gets raised as his son with Frigga as his mother, right? Frigga,
yeah, right.
Mother? And Thor's his brother.
Now, if my father had cursed me and told me specifically that if I was going to raise this other guy's kid, it was going to be nothing but bad news, I would not do this. I would put him up for adoption.
Yeah, that could raise some flags with me too. Now, I don't know. Maybe the father didn't tell Odin his curse, or
okay.
I don't know.
He did it while it was snow, just to himself.
Yeah. So Loki grows up with Thor, but he's jealous of Thor, and all that stuff. And he did he know he didn't know he was a frost giant right away, though, did he? Loki?
In the comics, I don't know. I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it was revealed to him much later.
Yeah. Maybe that's why he's trying to mess with Northstar and Aurora here. He's like, I didn't know who my parents were.
But yeah, he's just the god of mischief. He's a trickster. He's always trying to beat up trick Thor, because he wants to get the throne of Asgard. He wants to make Thor look bad. So then he'll be, "Hey, look at me! I can be the next king." And so that's basically what the backstory is with Loki. And
he's a nemesis for Thor, because obviously Thor is the big strong guy. He's got to have an enemy who's just kind of the opposite. He's smart and cunning and just tricks people.
Yeah, he's got
magic fight him hand to hand so much, but
yeah. And again, the movies really brought Loki to life as well.
Yeah, he sure did. They made him an amazing character who even got his own show. That's insane.
And like in the comics,
never would have thought that.
yeah, in the comics, like in the later, the 2000s and whatever, he became like an anti-hero as well. Like he would sometimes work with heroes for his own goals or whatever. But
yeah, they kept putting him in different forms too. Like he was a woman for a while, and then he was a young boy, and like, he had to like regrow up. It was they just kept doing weird things with Loki too. It should have been.
Didn't he run for president or something? Or?
Yeah, that's right.
There's something else I was going to say. Oh, and Loki, of course, you mentioned it, I believe, last week on the show, but he's the reason for the Avengers forming, just like in the movie, because although the story was different. But
sadly, the movie had no Rick Jones.
Yeah, because in the comic book, he was making it look like Hulk was doing all these terrible things, and the Avengers came together, and so that's what happened. All right. I think we can finally start talking about the book.
Okay. If anyone's still listening to this.
No one's listening anyway. We already established that. This is just for our own amusement and to meet the requirements of our parole. That's the only reason we do this. So why don't you describe the cover? Oh, we forgot to say the creator here. The writer is Bill Mantlo, who we've discussed many times on the show. And the artist is June Brigman.
Yeah.
We've never talked about, not once have we talked about her on the show. So real quick, she was born in 1960 in Atlanta, Georgia. She broke in with AC Comics in 1983. She has 60 penciling credits at Marvel. She co-created Power Pack with Louise Simonson, and she drew the first 17 issues. She did 6 issues of Alpha Flight and 1 annual. She also did Uncanny X-Men 204, if you remember that issue. It was the solo Nightcrawler story.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That weird orange cover with, I think Amanda Sefton maybe.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
And she drew the Supergirl miniseries for DC in 1994. And she also did a bunch of comic strips. From 1995 to 2001, she did the syndicated comic strip, Brenda's Star Reporter. That was still a comic strip in 2011. What years?
Who would have known?
In 2016, she became the artist of the Mary Worth newspaper strip. There's still newspapers? What is going on? What is this in a different reality? Like in that one?
Maybe.
She also at one point did the Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego comic strip for National Geographic World.
That was a comic strip? I had no idea.
So there you go. How about that?
Wow, what a varied career.
That's June Brigman. So, there you go. All right, so why don't you tell us about the cover there, Jenk?
Okay, the cover, we got the little Marvel corner box, kind of a classic late 80s look there. We got Guardian Vindicator. Kind of taking up most of it. She's kind of just standing there with her hands on her hips. And then next to her, we got some heads. We got Puck, Aurora, Northstar, and Box.
Yep.
And no sign of Sasquatch.
Nope.
Could not make the cover. And then it says Alpha Flight. Not the best logo I've ever seen in my life. It's kind of plain. And it's mostly a blue background. And most of the shot is Loki, who's like looking into a cauldron, some kind of like a viewing cauldron. And he's kind of got his hand on his chin. He's stroking it. He's up to something. He's scheming. And in the cauldron there, we see a shot of Aurora holding Northstar's kind of almost dead-looking body. And Heather Hudson's there, and there's a bunch of little purple demons like swarming them.
Yeah. It's a special double-size issue.
Yeah, that's right. And they remind us that 1987 is the year of the reader. I don't remember that.
So yeah, it's a pretty okay cover.
Yeah, I don't know. If it's your 50th issue, you think you'd want the team to be more of a focus, right?
I hear you, yeah. Maybe, I'm just spitballing here, but maybe like some dramatic scene of the team in the foreground fighting these demons or whatever, and then Loki like overseeing everything, like he's the puppet master over
the sky. Yeah.
Might be a better way to go about this, but It's the year of the
Loki
reader.
looks kind of cool, I guess, so I'll give it that. It's not a bad shot of Loki. They got the horns right.
Yeah.
Seems-
So we open it up, and Stan Lee presents This Mortal Coil. We get a big splash page of that single rose growing in the Arctic snow there, as we mentioned from the Alpha Flight X-Men story. And we see White Sasquatch is holding the sick Northstar, and we see Puck there, and Heather Hudson, Vindicator / Guardian, and Box. Like, he's just still Box though, right? Or is he something else? Box 2 or Box 3? Or?
I mean, I don't think they would ever even call him that, so.
Yeah.
No one's like Box 2. This isn't like the ad with, what was that fighter he had?
A Grape Ape 2. That's an LCS hockey reference, but don't worry about it. So, yeah, he's there, and he's got some big satellite dish coming out of his chest, and Aurora's there. And now, Northstar and Aurora, usually they always wear the black and white costumes, like mostly black with white boots and gloves and like a white star on the body. But now she's looking like a rogue a little bit here, in like a green bodysuit with like black gloves and...
Yeah, apparently, like, well, that might just be because she's wearing, like, winter clothes. That could be it.
That's
could be
fair.
her winter fatigues.
Yeah, that's fair.
But also, I guess there was, like, they had some kind of a falling out, apparently, which we didn't go over, where, like, they used to have to hold hands to create light, but she was, like, pissed off at Northstar for something. So she had, like, Sasquatch come up with a way that she could do the light powers without having to touch Northstar. But she could only do them half as strong as they normally did together. And then they found out that if they did touch, now, like, they would cancel out their powers and they couldn't use them at all. So.
Oh, okay.
Maybe she's trying to break away from, Northstar and have her own costume. I don't know.
Yeah, that's probably it. And also, did you notice who the inker is on this?
I know, I read it.
Oh, Will Sportaccio.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, that's pretty great. Who knew he was doing stuff?
What would the people know Will Sportaccio from?
He was near the end of the original X Factor run, and then like when Chris Claremont left, he was kind of the artist on Uncanny X-Men.
And I know him most probably from wasn't he doing like Punisher War Journal and Punisher and stuff?
He might have been.
So
sounds all right.
Yeah.
I think he was an Image guy later on. I can't remember
which
he was doing over at Image, but
they all looked alike, so it doesn't matter. I think he did Wetworks, right?
Oh, that sounds about right.
Sure. Let's go with it. All right, so on the next page, we see Heather Hudson in her goggles, and she's looking out over the landscape there, and see Sasquatch. And again, they're just trying to heal Sasquatch and Aurora in this hopefully magic fountain again. And
yeah. Hoping there's some magic left in that old silk hat they found.
We just get a bunch of like backstory on how they got here. And man, we've talked about Bill Mantlo a lot in the show, and he's done some great stuff. Like he did the Mr. Fish issue that we love.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I think he did Micronauts too, which is pretty good. I think. But yeah, it's hit or miss though with Mantlo. It can be decent or terrible. And the rating here is really bad in terms of like exposition. And
there was a lot of exposition, which I don't know. I guess that's not totally his fault. This book is very laden down with exposition that it kind of has to be because there's so much going on with these characters.
You got to find a better way to do it. You got to. This is rough. So yeah, we just get a bunch of background.
He's like, oh, I remember when Madeline Pryor made me tall again? Oh, I hope I can do that. I hope that fountain still works so I can be tall.
Yeah, because he wants to do it with Heather Hudson, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Everyone wants Heather, man. Those goggles drive the men wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Puck wants to be big again. Oh, just like that movie. Big.
Yeah, he should just found a Zoltar machine and made a wish.
Dance on a piano or whatever.
All right, so we sent Demon in the Zoltar machine. They both had turbans. This is your new fool.
And we see Heather remembering like Loki and stuff as well. Also, who are these guys? Those who sit above him in the shadows, or what are they called?
Oh yeah, yeah. think that's right. Did we encounter them before?
I
want to
what
say in
was
that
that?
Hulk issue, there was some remember somebody was guiding somebody and we were like, who the hell are they talking about? And it was I thought it was something like this. Where the
Yes,
one,
it was Absorbing Man. Absorbing.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And it was the Hulk, yeah, where he turns into glass and he breaks on the construction site.
Yep.
Yes. Incredible Hulk. Yes. I don't know if that was them, though. Was it? Because these guys seem like giant Asgardian dudes.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like messing with the Hulk would be, that's kind of below their pay grade.
But they are very similar presentations, I remember.
Yeah.
So you're not wrong. I just don't know if it's these guys specific, because these seem like eternal Asgardian gods or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
The
know.
guy who could turn himself into glass in midair, probably not their forte.
Yeah, they're all just trying to seek. They're saying, "Well, this is ridiculous. There's no magic here." And I think Puck says it, or someone says, "But look, there's a single rose growing in the Arctic snow. Clearly, there's still magic here,
Yep.
or something." But they're looking over the landscape and they're like, "We can't see anything, though." Yeah. So that box guy, he turns himself into a drill, and he just drills right down
into the earth.
Yeah. Oh, we should also mention Aurora is scared of the dark.
Yeah. Oh, this Aurora really seems like a fun time.
It's a lot of work. This Aurora.
Yeah.
Oh. So Box goes down. He finds this underground cavern, and he's flying around, scouting it out. And he finds some old Viking city underground.
Yeah.
And then he calls back and says, "Hey, come on down here, fellas. I think we got something." But Aurora doesn't want to go down the hole because it's dark down there.
Oh, boy.
And she goes running away, and Northstar tries to grab her, chase after her, but he's so sick he just collapses in the snow. Then Aurora sees him, and she's like, "Oh, that's my brother. I got to go back and help my brother." So she goes back to help her brother. Yeah.
Aurora, by the way, has the thickest French accent you'll ever hear in your life, apparently.
It's pretty great.
Everything's Ian, brother.
It's pretty great. So she flies back, and now we see Loki up in Asgard, or wherever the hell he is, and he's looking into his little bucket. With the, I don't know. It's a bucket. I don't know. And he can see what they're doing. A cauldron, I guess, would be the term, right?
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's what I would go. His magic bucket.
He's looking at his magic bucket, and he can watch what they're doing. And I guess those those gods in the shadows or whatever the hell they're called,
above all or whatever they were.
They told him he can't do anything bad to humans anymore, or the mortals.
Well, just the X-Men and Alpha Flight, I think.
Oh, okay.
He's like, yeah, I know they, screwed up your whole plan here last time, but you can't get retaliation.
Yeah.
No.
So he's like, but he sees them back in where, in his lantern. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to mess with them a little bit.
Yeah.
But
in a way where it doesn't look like I'm messing with them. I can say oh, no, I was helping them.
Just going to have a little fun. So, because he knows that there's a giant golden lid down the ground there that opens up down to another cavern where the magic is, I guess. But he changes the symbols on the golden lid to make it seem like it's a nice place.
Yep.
A lot of pretty ladies and angels and stuff. But actually, there's nothing but demons on that lid.
Uh-oh. They're going to the bad place.
Yeah. I love that this this lid, it's really heavy gold like manhole cover, but there's a hinge on it. I like that the magic guys got out their screwdrivers and installed a hinge that I can flip up and down.
Yep. Smart.
All right, so now we cut back to Alpha Flight. I don't know, is this their headquarters?
I guess so. Tamarind Island off the coast of British Columbia.
Oh, yeah. Home of Alpha Flight. That looks like a nice little house.
Just living like a nice little 2-story house. It's quite the operation they got here.
Now, do you know who these two people are?
I know who one of them is, obviously.
Oh, yes. Go ahead. Tell who the one you know.
I have no clue. So one of them is the purple girl, who is the daughter or one of the many children of the purple man.
Yes. That creep.
Yeah. He was just giving it to everybody, whether they wanted it or not. So, that's who she is. And I think, what was her name? Like, I think she did have another name.
I think it's Kara Kilgrave.
No, another superhero name. Like, it was like Hypnotic or, something weird like that. Mesmer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know that.
Okay.
But, so yeah, her powers are just exactly like her daddy, right? Like she can.
Yep.
Influence, but she's not a rapist, right? So
not that I know of.
That's the clear distinction.
Seems like her and Mannequin are together here. Who knows whether he actually wanted that or not?
Yeah, this Mannequin fella. I've never heard of him before in my life.
No. Nope. Never would have imagined he was part of Alpha Flight.
He just looks like a white nerdy kid with blonde hair or something. I don't know.
Yep.
He tucks in his t-shirt. He's one of those guys. So, so did you read up on him at all? Did you learn anything about this guy?
Not really, no.
Okay, so I think what he can do, his power is, he can create 3 other forms of himself, one from way in the future, one from way in the past, and then one that's like an amoeba. I don't know.
That sounds like the one in the past. Like, what are you going to be, a fetus? Like,
yeah, because the one there's one like a caveman. So.
So it's like previous incarnations of his.
I guess. Something? I don't know. Yeah. I should have said throughout history, not just history.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the distant past. Like what? He's only like 12 years old.
So yeah, I think there's one like, or is it just a amoeba-like creature or something? And then he's a caveman, an ape-man guy who's strong and everything. And then there's one from the future where he's like a version of himself that's mixed with technology. So he can do all kind of like, he can levitate and do all kind of crazy stuff like that.
Wow. That's the weirdest power I've ever heard of.
I was like, what the what?
Let's be elaborate.
So yeah, that's his deal. Now you know why he's on Beta Flight, you know?
Yeah. Oh, can't believe that didn't catch on.
How can we make him like Jamie Madrox except not Cole?
Yeah.
Can we do? So, all right, now we go back. But what are they saying? What are they? They're just going through the house here.
Yeah, they're like, hey, Alpha Flight's not here. We got the place to ourselves. Let's go phone.
Well, I think they're talking about Jeffries. They're talking about Jeffries, the Madison Jeffries and Lionel Jeffries and all those other stuff. I guess this Mannequin guy, he worked with the Jeffries as well. He was like their intern or something. Yep. So.
Yeah, this is all, I don't know what the point of this scene was ultimately though. I mean, I guess that's good explanation of things, but like good exposition, but it has nothing to do with this issue. So maybe you save that for next issue, like when it might be relevant. Yeah.
Again, a writing tip for you. Everything, a scene, if nothing changes, cut the scene. Like, and nothing changes here. Like we learn info, but for the characters, nothing changes. So,
but he moosed his hair for this.
Yeah. He says, did you notice I moosed my hair? And she says, uh-huh. This house is sort of spooky when Alpha's away, isn't it? Uh-huh. Think if we cuddled, it'd keep any ghosts at bay, Kara? And she says, might take more than a lot of cuddling, wit.
Oh.
Yeah, they're going to make this sweet, sweet love.
Yeah, they sure are.
So
he's going to turn into an old man in the middle of it.
Old caveman. All right, so we cut back to the underground cavern with Alpha Flight, and they're all looking around there. And Puck says, "Hey, look over here!" And they find the big, silo-shaped cavern, the vertical cavern. And there's like a little platform that used to go out into the magic fountain, but the magic fountain's not there. You know?
Yeah.
So they're like, oh man. No magic fountain. And then Aurora goes a little loopy, and she starts flying away. Because I guess the darkness is getting to her or something. I don't know.
Yep.
And so they find another doorway, or they find the big golden doorway deal. The
Yes.
manhole cover.
The big seal.
Yeah. Like, that's at the bottom of the vertical cavern, right?
Yep.
So they're like, all we gotta do is
doorway
open.
beyond which the magic lies.
In the words of Aurora. So they just figure we open up that manhole cover, boom, the magic fountain will come shooting up. That's all we gotta do. And again, on the lid, there's nothing but like pretty ladies and angels and stuff. So like, oh, this will be great.
Yeah, it looks like a strawberry. I don't know what's going on down there.
and it takes all their effort to raise this manhole cover. And
yeah. Vindicator, she's trying to pull on it. And then Box kind of like screws himself into the wall to make like a giant winch. And they're both giving it a tug. And then kind of Sasquatch is doing his part. And then Buck's like trying to get in there too. Like, I don't know what you're going to do, buddy.
Hey, once you raise it more than 2 feet, I'm out. I can't do anything.
Yeah.
But, so they look down into the hole now, and it's like just another cavern down there. So they're like, yeah, all right. So then Loki starts monkeying with things in his little cauldron or bucket of magic, and yeah, there's no way that guy can be inside the armor of Box, because look, he turns into like a stretcher for Northstar.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, he's frequently stretching out the middle part of him, which is where the body would have to be. So I don't know. Unless he's Mr. Fantastic under there.
There are just some things about Alpha Flight that have to remain a mystery. You know, let's just keep the intrigue alive.
Much of Canada, we'll never know.
So she's all sad. Aurora's all sad, and she's still glowing light around her to, because she's scared of the dark. But then she's so sad with Northstar, she hugs him, and like you said, they touch each other, their powers go away or whatever. So now the light goes away. But she doesn't care. She loves her brother.
Oh, that's nice.
But this seems like a terrible decision, though. They decide to leave her and Northstar back in the darkness of the cavern.
Yep.
Why wouldn't you leave Box back there?
Lady's terrified of the dark. They're even like, hey, Box, couldn't you like just leave her something, like a crowbar with a flashlight on it or something? He's like, whoa, this isn't Camelot 3000. I can't come up with that kind of technology.
Nice callback. But yeah, why wouldn't you just leave Box there with the light? Because he's shooting light out of his chest and everything. You can take care of Aurora, Northstar. Sasquatch, Guardian, Puck, we can go we'll go deal, look down here, Yeah. But I don't want to tell Heather Hudson how to run the team or anything, but, I mean, who am I? I don't have goggles. But that's just that's what I would do. But anyway, so while Aurora's back there with just Northstar, she's trying to nurse him back to health. She finds a pool of water there, And what you want to do is when you're in a dark underground cavern that no one has been down there for hundreds of years, what you want to do is scoop up some water and pour it into a sick person's mouth.
Yeah, water that seems extra black. Could very well be petroleum, and she's just dumping oil in this guy's mouth.
That'll heal him right up. So now we come back to Alpha Flight, and they're still looking for that damn fountain. But now, hey, they found another fountain. But now it's not like a golden fiery magic shooting up. It's black.
This isn't the golden shower we were promised.
This is how Jed Clampett felt when he found the oil shooting out of the ground.
Black gold.
Texas tea. That's right. So they're like, seems weird. Black magic. Well, that's still probably good, right? It's still probably nothing bad will happen. Yeah. But that was the whole trick that Loki played on him. Is he directed them to like the land of the dark elves or the dark magic or whatever the hell it's called. I don't know.
Malekith might be lurking around.
Oh, that Malekith. So then a bunch of little goblins start jumping out at Alpha Flight, and they're beating up the goblins. Although these goblins seem like they have knee pads and boots. And gloves. And
they were the ones who put the hinges on that door. You're going to be a handyman. You got to be dressed for the occasion.
So Puck is fighting these dudes out on the platform that goes close to the black magic fountain. And then he's doing okay, but then one of the goblins just chucks him off the platform.
Yeah, I mean, the goblins are about his size. You'd think they wouldn't be able to throw him around so much. But.
So he goes falling, and he passes into the dark magic fountain thing.
Yeah.
And as he's falling, he regains his normal size.
That's cool.
Yeah. And he busts out of his, like, he's kind of looking like the Hulk, popping out of his clothes a little bit, like carrying his clothes.
Yeah.
But as he's falling, he's like, oh no, if I'm cured of the demon curse thing, that probably means the demon. Free. Yeah, he's running loose now,
Yeah.
So
I've obtained my salvation by unleashing Razor on my friends. And up there he is with his scimitar, gonna cut inches off of everybody.
Yeah, he's just kind of like a giant. Is he like a ghost-like guy too?
Yeah, I think so.
Is he like coming out of smoke? You know what I mean? Like, is that smoke him, or is it him coming out? I don't know.
I think he is very ethereal like that. Yeah, smoky.
All right, so while they're going to have to deal with that guy, then we cut back to Aurora and Northstar, and she pops her light on to see what's going on around them, and boom, there's Loki. And a bunch of little monkey goblins. And they force Aurora to touch Northstar, and so that she loses her light. And then they pour the same water down her throat that she was giving Northstar. And her and Northstar have a shared dream. Would you like to explain the shared dream they had?
Okay. So they have a dream where a man is walking along and he finds a genuine elf burrow. After years of having my research into the factual understanding or underpinnings of Norse and Celtic mythology, derided in the journals and sneered at by academia, I've actually found one. Because this is their dad. He was looking for some evidence of fairies, and he found it.
Did he ever?
Boy, did he. And he sees them just kind of dancing around, just a bunch of elf girls just kind of dancing around, scantily clad. And he's like, all right, I'm in the right place.
He's like, I want to get me one of them.
Yep. And so he busts in. He's like, oh, hey. He's like, elf, they still exist. I'm going to get me some Keebler elf cookies. And he grabs one of them. One of them's kind of, I guess, slower than the others because she kind of wants to go. And he's like, go on, change into any form you wish. Prove that you are what you are. But I know the legends. So long as I do not let go, you are mine. He's like, perhaps I wish to be yours. He's like, wait, man. What? Why?
Wait, what?
That I might love you all my days. And then there's like a weird shot of them getting married where neither of them seems very happy about it. They're just like, all right, I guess. I grabbed her, so now I gotta marry her.
It's taken from my history. Yeah. So, but they do get married, and they have the two babies, but then some fairy dudes come looking for her.
That's right. They're just stabbing at the window with their spears.
The door is right there. Just ring the doorbell. They go, and then they start chasing them. There's a car chase.
Yeah. They get in the car, they're trying to drive away, and the elves are still like, hey, no, you gotta return with us. And they accidentally kill them. Like, oh, I guess that solves our problem. Because now she's mortal because she gave up her immortality to be with this guy.
Yeah. But the two babies somehow survived the crash.
Yeah. The dad somehow gets the babies to safety. I don't know. He really only gets them about 20 feet away, and apparently somebody finds them, and they're all right.
And they got sent to different orphanages?
Yeah. Yep. Not sure why they did that, but,
So there you go. So, yeah, Loki basically has them believe that they are fairies.
Yeah.
Northstar and Aurora.
It's like, oh, you do have pointed ears. I guess this makes sense.
How do you explain the pointed ears if they're not fairies?
Yeah.
Or
What is that?
Vulcans.
What mutant power is that?
So then the goblins start beating up Aurora. They're trying to tear her apart. And she turns on her light full blast. And she says, hey, I know how I can heal my brother. I'll pour all my light into him.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to work. Like, what's the scientific basis of that?
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I think Loki said something about like it's because you've been away from Alfheim for too long. So I don't know. Maybe she thinks by giving her whatever Alfheim energy she has in herself to him, it'll somehow recharge his batteries. But
yeah, when you're saying Elfheim, it's ELF, not ALF. Because if it's ALF, I would be so happy if it was Alfheim. But it's Elfheim.
You guys have to go to Melmac.
It's just like, what, Elf Fairyland? Is that basically what it is?
Yeah, that's where the light elves live.
Right.
And Svartalheim, I think, is where the dark elves live.
You really know your elves and great beasts. I'm impressed. So yeah, she shoots all her light into Northstar, and boom, he's restored. He's back to his old Northstar self. But he looks around, and Aurora's gone.
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah. It's like she just disappeared.
Yeah, little goblins took her through. There's a bunch of holes. It's like Swiss cheese in this cavern, and they took her through one of the holes. He was like, I don't even know which one she went through.
So now we cut back to the other Alpha Flight team members, and they're still fighting Dark Razor, or whatever the hell his name is, and the other goblins. And yeah, that Razor guy hits Box with his sword, and Box is like, yeah, I'm a robot. He's not going to hurt me. And he's like, that hurt.
Yeah. Sasquatch is like, geez, one swipe of that sword and Box shrunk. How do you shrink a robot? Like, he was just growing, like, to different sizes, this whole issue. So I don't know how that makes any sense, but.
And then he hits Guardian, and apparently she shrinks. Although you can't really tell by looking at the art. Like, there's no.
That is kind of scary, though. I'd be afraid to fight a guy who makes you shorter with each stroke.
That is an interesting power there. So they hurry up and they go, we got to get out of this cavern, because that scimitar wielding fella's crazy, and he's making us all short, and we can't unleash him.
Coleman movie soon.
We can't. There's gonna be a lot of foot chases. We can't let him loose on the world, so we got to get out of here. And so they jump out of the cavern there, and they go back. They prop up the big golden manhole cover, and then they climb out, and then they drop the manhole cover down. And Northstar's out there with them, and when it shuts, old Guardian just like blow torches it shut with her powers there. The laser she shoots out of her suit and melts it shut to keep that demon fella in there.
Yeah. Northstar's not happy about that.
And Northstar's like, my sister's still down there somewhere. And Guardian's like, oh well. And what about Puck?
Yeah.
Puck too. And Guardian just shrugs again, like, oh, well, I got the goggles. I'm the leader. Don't question me.
They let me see the best path forward, and that was it.
So no one's real happy about this. And now they're outside. They're looking at that single solitary rose again. And Northstar just starts floating up into the sky. And I remember when I told you
his revenge is complete. We came to cure 2 Alphans and have instead lost 3. She's like, 3? Who besides Puck and Aurora? Loki revealed my Aurora and my origins, Vindicator. We are children of Earth and of Alfheim. Whereas the former was destroying us, the latter still offers hope to the one who is left. He just soars off into the sky to go to Alfheim.
And there's 2 elf ladies up there in the clouds. And they open up some golden doors for him to go into a bright light. That's why when last week we were talking about this after the show, I was like, yeah, I think Northstar dies at the end or something, because I was just flipping through and but no, he's going back to because he's an elf. But he's not an elf. Loki just made all that up.
So did he trick those elf ladies to think this guy's an elf? Like, why are they welcoming him like this?
I think what happened is maybe at this point in time they actually were going to be elves. And then someone came in later and said, no, they're not elves. That's really dumb.
Yeah, probably a smart idea. Just jettison this whole thing.
But yeah, Northstar's gone in the sky now, so we're down to Sasquatch, Box, and Guardian. That's it.
Yeah, it's a pretty small team. That's pretty bad. Not going great here, Heather Hudson.
And they get in the plane, and their little plane, they take off, and like the exhaust and everything knocks all the pedals off the single solitary rows. What the hell? This Guardian is just destroying everything. And now we cut back to Loki, and he's celebrating all the good fun he had. And then those we who sit above in shadow, they summon him to their lair, and they say, "Hey, Loki, we told you can't take revenge on Alpha Flight or the X-Men. We told you that." And he says, "Yeah, but it may look like I did bad, but I did it. I didn't do anything bad. I just had a little fun with them because
I told Northstar and Aurora their true origin. Like, that's a good thing."
And then he said that Aurora, she's not kidnapped. No, she's already free from the capture of the goblins, and she's, I don't know, dropped off at a monastery somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Or,
yep.
oh,
So they're gonna fix her brain, and they're gonna, she's memoryless. Her mind, cleft into multiple personalities, is now whole. So look, she's been fixed up. She might not know who she is, but she's, her mind's in one piece, so that's something.
And he's like, "Look at that puck guy. He's big again."
Yeah. He's an old ass man, but at least he's tall.
He's happy.
And he's in Tibet, apparently. Loki sent him to Tibet.
Yeah, because I guess that's where he first encountered that Dark Razor guy.
Yeah.
So.
And he's just like, things weren't really working out with Alpha Flight anyway, so I'm just going to stay here.
Yeah. Have some adventures.
I'm not even going to let them know I'm still alive. Just going to, hang out in Tibet, I guess.
Yeah, keep in mind he has, one pair of tattered clothes, no money, no anything. But yeah, he's on a mountain in Tibet. It's going to work out for the best. Sure it will. So. And then, so those guys in the shadows are like, "Oh, all right, Loki, I guess you're okay." But
and Loki does say he did reverse the effect of Razor's sword on Box and Vindicator, so they did not. In fact, it's shorter.
Thankfully, we didn't see it have any effect at all, so it didn't really matter. So he says, "All right, fellas, I'm out. Talk to you later." And they say, "All right, Loki, get out of here." And then he shuts the door and he says, "Fools. Like Odin, the supposedly all wise, they who sit above in shadows are easily fooled by one born to deceive. True, no mortal suffered this time, but I am not done with Alpha Flight." But then he turns around and there's that Dark Razor guy with the scimitar. Look out! And,
Yep.
And Loki's
not going back to Asgard after all. They sent him to Svartalheim. And,
so they played a little trick on the trickster.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like that.
So now we come back to the Alpha Flight ship flying around, and then we get a big panel of Heather Hudson lying in bed crying, and she's still wearing her goggles.
It hides the tears. No one can see.
Can you remember ever a comic book that ended on one panel like this with so much internal monologue?
Oh, I'm sure Claremont did it at some point.
We get 10 internal monologue bubbles in this one panel.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's quite a bit.
I don't think I've ever encountered that.
It's the double-sized 50th issue. You got to have twice as much inner monologue.
But basically, she's just crying because she's a terrible leader.
She's kind of like, "Oh, maybe I should retire." But then someone else will have to, start from scratch, and that's just as bad. So I better just continue.
I doubt so. What's the next leader going to do? Lose 4 members on one mission? But yeah, Heather Hudson, she's always had self-esteem issue. Like she always felt she couldn't live up to the legacy of her husband, and she's not a real leader, and she always questions herself. So this just furthers that internal conflict. And I flipped to the next issue, I think, just to see what they do now when they don't have all these characters. But I already forgot what happened. I don't even remember.
Yeah, I think it looks like Purple Girl and that mannequin kid get promoted.
Yikes.
Like, you become part of Alpha Flight. And then I was looking a couple issues down the line. There was like some little blue demon thing. I don't know what that was. Like, looks like he was on the team.
Huh.
Yeah.
And Alpha Flight, a lot of team members over the years. A lot of team members. So.
Yeah.
All right, there it is, Alpha Flight issue 50. Again, the rating here, like the basic premise is solid. going back to try and find the magic fountain to heal them and everything. But the actual dialogue is brutal. And
Yeah, it wasn't great. They seem to waste a lot of time just going over the same things, and
the whole Aurora and Northstar being elves was dumb. But
yeah,
now it works if Loki was just monkeying with them. But again, I don't think that was the intention at this point.
not at this point. No. Clearly, they meant for that to be the truth.
Anything else about the writing? I don't know. We mentioned that mannequin purple girl scene had no point.
No, no point at all. I don't know. I was hoping for more out of Loki in this, other than just kind of stirring a pot, and I guess that is kind of his lot. Is he's a trickster.
Yeah.
He's just kind of manipulating things, but he doesn't do a whole lot here.
But I kind of liked it because he's just having fun, He's just playing with them. It's like his version of a video game, sitting down playing some NHL, and that's what it is.
Pretty quickly.
So that's it. The art here, Dream Brigman, her style, it's clean. It's similar to Paul Smith in a way because there's not a lot of lines. It's simple. I liked it. It's got a quiet, peaceful tone to the art. I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely didn't hate it. I thought it was pretty good. I wouldn't compare it to Paul Smith per se, but I definitely
not similar in a way in the line work,
sure.
But not as good as Paul Smith. But
it reminds me of, but yeah, it's good. I have no real issues with it.
Not overly dynamic, or anything, but it's solid. There's some panels I really like. Even that final panel of her crying on the bed. That's a good shot of her face, and there's a couple shots of Aurora when she was flying away, and looked pretty cool. So
draw them goggles.
Yeah. She sure can draw goggles. So, I like the art. No complaints, really. But the writing, not so much. So, I don't know. What do you think, 1 out of 10?
I was going to go probably a 4, just slightly below average, because it was just kind of a nothing. There was so much backstory and not a whole lot of interesting things going on in this particular issue for me.
Yeah, I just can't get past the writing. So I think 4 is right. I'll go with that as well.
It's far from the worst thing we've ever done, but it's also not great.
Yeah. All right. So that's it, Alpha Flight. Maybe we'll do another Alpha Flight at some point, and there'll probably be a whole new team of people. So.
Yep. Probably.
All right, Jank, what do you got for us next week?
All right. Well, next week I figured I would go kind of the opposite of what I picked last week with a very serious Death of Captain Marvel issue. So I'm going to go with something a lot more fun, hopefully. We're going to do from 1977. We're going to do Plastic Man number 18.
Plastic Man 18 from 1977. I think we did a Plastic Man, I know Mike Ellen and I did a Plastic Man story, but it wasn't a full Plastic Man issue. I think it was like a anthology or something. It was just one small Plastic Man story, I think.
Yeah, I didn't see it in the list of things, but yeah, if it was an anthology, that would make sense. And I know we saw him being a pervert and, pretending to be Wonder Woman's lasso in that one issue.
The baseball game issue, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. He was playing first base for the hero team. Yeah.
That's right. He should have played all the positions, honestly. He's a Plastic Man.
And he played a little trick there on Sportsmaster at the end there.
That's right.
So.
Oh, yeah. His base
all right.
foot.
Also, we encountered Plastic Man when we did the All-Star Squadron. He was in there in issue 3 of the All-Star Squadron. Mike Ellen and I did back in the day. But I can't remember what issue that would have been, because I know we did a little Plastic Man story.
It was one of those Christmas with the Superheroes or something, was it?
It may have been. I don't know. It's very forgettable. Anyway, all right, so Plastic Man, we'll learn all about him next week. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. We appreciate the support. And until next week, don't get any jank on you.